So, welcome to Teacher Teachers. It is the 27th of August, and Chris Sloan, you have been teaching for what, 3 weeks now?
Yeah, we're in our third week. Yeah,
you actually are in your third week.
Yeah,
sorry.
That's right.
And Peter, you just told me you are in your third day, right?
Third day today. Yep. I almost didn't come because I'm a little on the tired side, but you know, you've been I'm not going to say hounding me, Paul. You've been graciously sending me emails every Wednesday inviting me, and I just didn't make it happen during the summer. So
I appreciate your no, and I totally know what it's like the third day of school. And Debbie, welcome as well.
Thank you. I'm a school librarian now, working, coaching other school librarians.
Chris, what's on your mind? Do you want to? I mean, given that it's us, we can just sort of figure this out together. I have a couple things to show you when you're interested, but yeah, go for it.
Yeah, we had all of our seniors. So we're not a very big school. We're a school of about 700 students. So about all of our seniors, which is about 170 students, read the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass for summer reading. And so the three of us teach. So we teach. There's different levels, or different classes. So there's AP Lang we teach. Then there's like concurrent enrollment English with a local community college for seniors. Then there's senior, we call it senior English, which is kind of like writing for college kind of stuff. So the three of us teach those things. And then in addition, one of us is, not me, is the writing center coordinator too. So yeah, we've been thinking about how to use writing partners with the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass. So that's kind of where we all are, the three of us.
Do you have any sort of brainstormed options?
Options on how to approach it with?
Yeah, like what's your hunch? What are people thinking about?
Let me get something going.
I would say, Chris, you could, yeah.
We might introduce ourselves too first. I mean, I guess we know each other.
I think we're okay. Yeah, this is Chris Love from Solid.
Never mind.
And Peter.
Yeah. So
from Oak Park, Michigan.
Nice.
Plus, yeah.
So far, students, I'll share a little text because for some reason I can't share my screen, but that's okay. I'll put something in the chat. Both teachers who teach AP Lang, so there's 4 sections of AP Lang. I teach what's called contemporary issues, and then my colleague Brian has AP Lang, but he does it in the framework of the Black intellectual tradition. So we both do kind of an opening slide like the one that I'm about to put in the chat. So here's, I think, yeah, here's the language of how we're approaching it. And Brian does this very similar thing too. And I borrowed this from Brian, or I adapted it from Brian. So basically my thing to my seniors is we're going to read a lot of stuff and it falls within certain frameworks, and those frameworks or those themes, a lot of what we're going to read, falls under those themes. And so right now I had students today, they actually interacted with writing partners for the first time. And we had a short, so for homework tonight, they'll do more of what they did today. So basically all they started with was, well, yesterday we read chapter 1 together, even though they're supposed to read it for the summer. We read chapter 1 of Frederick Douglass's narrative of the life. And then I said, do you see any of these themes anywhere in this chapter? And so they looked, they tried to isolate stuff. And I said, don't annotate. Yeah, just try to, from your memory, like what we just read, what do you see? And so, they did that. And then I gave an example of how, I think that's certainly the fact that, he didn't know his birthday, and those things in chapter 1 where he doesn't know his father. The father could be the slave owner. Those things are all kind of, you could say that has something to do with identity. And so then today I broke them into 10 groups, and each student is focusing on one of the rest of the chapters. So like there's 11 chapters in the book. So the rest of the 10 groups, there's like 2 or 3 students who are looking at chapter 2, and 2 or 3 are looking at chapter 3, and so on. And they're going to try to find those. All they're trying to do is just find those themes anywhere and click on it, annotate like, oh, I think I see racism here. And what we're getting to is like, what makes you say that? So like, what's the evidence that is making you say that you see, the theme of identity here? And then we'll move towards, as far as rhetorical moves go, it's like how to incorporate a quote into your argument, how to write a defensible thesis kind of stuff is where we're going, as far as like the AP Lang kind of things go.
So you have this, you're both the teacher of your students, and you are coordinating with Brian and Brian.
Right.
Have you showed them? I just looked quickly. A couple people have made some comments, some annotations. They're going to jump in and do that, or?
Yeah, the students. That was literally the last 5 minutes of class. I said, this is what you're going to do tonight. If you think you can do it now, go for it. But they're supposed to come tomorrow, where there'll be 23 people who have done like those comments that you see right there.
Right. So what's your thinking? And I have some thoughts, but I think it's. I'll say, and then I want to know what you're thinking. Like it's great to get their voice annotating first, right?
That's the plan. Yeah.
And then have them go back and forth a little bit, if possible, replying to
each other. I did. We've talked about the site. Yesterday, I talked about why we're going to use this particular site, and I did. They're fully aware of the AI stuff on there. But I said, for this one, I'm interested in your thoughts first. So yeah, that's the way I approached it.
Cool. And so, and have you and the Brian's talked about annotating yet? I'm just curious. Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about it in passing. Yeah.
Right. I just like, you're an expert. You've done this many times. I'm just trying to see how you're going to get them involved as well.
Yeah. That's by, I mean, we've been talking a few times about annotating the text, and so yeah.
Okay. So if I may, can I one of the, and what I want to quickly demonstrate and talk to you about comes way after what we just described, where they're looking at a text together and already and annotating and talking to each other about it. But we did play, and we talked a couple of weeks ago. And so what I prepared and put on the table is some follow-up of what we've done over the last 2 or 3 weeks, right? And one of them was an annotating coach, which is based on the 4 A's: assumptions, agree, argue, and aspire to, right?
Yeah, and we're all I've shared that the 4 A's, and they're all on board with that approach.
Okay, cool. So So at some point you might introduce that, and as you know, I'm just don't know exactly how that fits, but great. And then when we showed this to you a couple weeks ago, it was doing sort of like here, it was giving everything, and so I've revised it. So I want to show you how it's revised. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
So and there's an example that comes from your students from 1980 that we're doing 1984. I'm going to see if I can open that and present that.
Okay.
But questions and thoughts. And hi, Bonnie.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Bonnie. Hey, you guys. I have to say, I've got to make a dinner tonight while I listen to you, so I might be moving around. I'll put myself on mute.
That's cool. What are you making?
Red curry, shrimp with red curry and red peppers.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, Paul. I don't. Where would I find what Chris put in the chat? Because I'm not an expert with this Kumo space. So
Yeah.
Oh, there's the little chat bubble at the bottom left of the interface.
Thank you. I got it now. Yep. Thanks.
All right. Am I sharing now? And
Yes.
There's text on the left side. And okay. So I just pulled up this example rather than going through the whole thing, and just see how you're thinking now. So what I've asked it to do is read the comment that I've identified, right? So we're going to pretend like Ryan, or not Ryan here. This is actually Henry. Henry has written this comment, right? I greatly appreciate your insight, the connection to the real world Chinese policy you observed, right? So this is what he has written. And then what we can imagine that Henry would come in and say,
Paul, in context, Henry's writing that to a classmate, right?
yes.
Okay, yeah. So we're not into AI yet. Just so everybody's up to it. Yeah.
So the suggestion here is that he picks the annotating coach and says, hey, what else could I consider here? And what it does is it identifies what kind of comment you made here. Is it an agree, an assumption, which kind of comment? So it says, great connection, Ryan, right? And probably shouldn't be saying Ryan, should be saying Henry, but that's okay. You're using the protocol to reflect on your own experience and draw parallels with history. The comment you just made is closest to assumptions part of the 4As, right? You're noticing that the government's power to watch and control, both in the book and world of real life. Let's dig a little deeper. This time I want you to think about the agree question. So it brings up an agree question for him and asks him to go a little deeper. So the idea here is at some point they go back to a comment they've made and ask it to go deeper. Does that make some sense for how it might work? I have another example.
Can you tell me the other two A's?
Yeah, they are assumptions of the authors. One, agree, argue, and then aspire.
Okay, thank you.
And there is at the end, there is a PDF that's available. You can pop that up at some point. Just wanted to show you this example here. I think it's close. I know we're jumping in and out of examples, but I think it's closer to the Soviet and Nazi Germany. So in this case, right, the AI says what? The AI asks him to look for something he agrees with, right? There was an example where they went to assumptions. So you get a sense of how that might work. And I guess the question is, I mean, I could show another example if that's helpful. Or the question is, given your workflow, like they're annotating their own thoughts, you have these themes, you have, how complicated is this, or is it making sense to you?
Well, I guess I'll talk about it.
Good. Thanks.
So in my setting, a lot of times I think they're probably going to agree with a text. And so I think it's good to push back and probably just ask them to argue and take on a different perspective would be helpful, I think. And I think we talked a couple weeks ago about the idea of first asking students, like, for example, as for assumptions, like what assumptions is Douglas making about his readers, And so that's not an easy question for my students to think about. So that would, well, he seems to be writing probably not to slave owners, and so we could say maybe a friendly audience kind of thing. So like that might help them there. And then together with the background teammate, it might be like, well, what was it like back then? Like, why would someone argue for slavery in 1840s, stuff like that, to try to help them see beyond just their limited view of 1840s America. So I think like the assumptions part of the 4A's seems pretty ripe, and the argue part of the 4A's, just because I see a lot of my students agreeing with whatever given text there is. So yeah, and I think they're going to be aware of those 4A's, so they'll have experience thinking about those things, and then if they engage with the AI,
you and your colleagues will be introducing that to them. Is that why they'll be aware of them? So
yeah, yeah, it's pretty transparent. Like when we annotate, these are some things to think about. Yeah.
Okay. Just to throw one more example up, and this is actually, I think, Bonnie's student. It's from Henrietta Lacks, and in this case, it says it is an agree comment that she makes. It's a she, yes. But then the second paragraph, it says, to take your thinking to another level, let's circle back to the first day. And so it asks her an assumption question. But whether or not we need the AI for this is always going to be a good question. I just want to put that out there. But it's available, right?
No, I used it myself, testing it on, some of those other ones, and I thought it was useful for sure.
Okay. So there's that. Other thoughts or questions? Or Peter, we're throwing you in the midst of a lot of stuff. If you have any questions or thoughts you want to ask us about, we could clarify.
I mean, so Frederick Douglass and Henrietta Lacks are both very long texts or long works.
Yes.
And you are just using chunks of the text to practice annotating and giving feedback to each other or pushing each other. Is that the idea? And if that's so, what do you copy and paste the text out of a PDF, or does the AI generate it? If you say I upload chapter 1 of Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. So I've only used it when kids have uploaded their own writing to get feedback on their own writing. So the whole concept of annotating, and I know that we talked a little bit about it last spring, Paul. I still haven't wrapped my head around how I would use it with my students. So I guess, once again, do you just take a little bit of the text just to practice this whole annotating and kind of seeing other people's thinking? And how do you upload the text?
Chris, do you want to handle that?
Well, in the case of Frederick Douglass, it was, it's pretty easy on Project Gutenberg to find the text and copy it in a chapter at a time. But, so first off, as far as the reading and annotating other people's like published text for AP Lang kind of stuff, it wouldn't be hard to upload. For instance, in the sequence for AP Lang, there's the Benjamin Banneker letter to Thomas Jefferson. So, that could be something that could be uploaded there. It's not AP property, that letter. and so we could annotate that. But then as far as so that's how I copy and paste stuff. But then for their own writing, the thing that you would have used last year, Peter, the writing tool that's on Writing Partners, is now a lot better. I'll say that. I just saw that last week, and that's definitely an improvement. I used to have them write their stuff in Google Docs and copy and paste it in, but now I'm satisfied with the writing tool that's actually on Writing Partners. So yeah, I'll stop there. How about?
So now you're having them actually compose in Writing Partners itself.
They will. Yeah, I'm telling them that this is our writing platform and that they can choose to use AI or not. And so they can, that's kind of my pitch. And the parents, we already met, back to school night. Parents were definitely on board with that.
Okay.
Were the parents objecting to AI or
no? If anything, there's questions on like just how are you dealing with it kind of thing, and that was my answer, and everybody was satisfied with that. Yeah.
Chris, can you remind me what the contract is or the permissions that kids sign in Judge Memorial that's going to allow them to be on the platform?
I would have to
if they
get
did?
the language of it. They did, like they sign a form saying you're okay with that.
Yeah. Okay.
And I mean, I can. You want me to share the language of how I wrote that?
I was just curious if there was anything specific about the use of AI at Judge, or if it's just
Oh, yeah.
blanket. Yeah. And
Well, I share my rationale for Writing Partners.
Sure.
Yeah, and then I tell them, I share all that why I use it. So I can, just for discussion's sake, I'll just put in some language that I shared with my parents.
That'd be great.
But Peter, circling back to your question, I'm glad you asked it because people use the site in different ways, and one of the things that, as David and I have started to think about revising some of the site, we're thinking about that in an English class there are 3 kind of digital discourse ways of approaching things, and one is by reading and commenting on a text, the other is by writing and editing, and the last one is by having just discussion and chatting. And so what we're thinking is that the site and I'm not sorry, but I'm just trying to clarify that, you can upload a short story, you can upload sections of even whole books and so forth. Everything is uploaded as a private document, just to know. So, we kind of push the boundaries of fair use there, but we haven't gotten in any trouble yet around it. But so, yes, that's the kind of thing. And then what we were talking about is that in all 3 of those modes, so let's just deal with the writing and the reading. Students go in and put their own stuff up first, their own thoughts next to a text, reply to each other's, and so there's a conversation happening. And then at some point there are annotation supporters, augmenters that AI can bring in to the situation. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Let me pause.
So once again, when you sent me the email today asking me if I wanted to do some more this year, I still kept thinking about the composition part, right? Like I'll use this when the kids are writing, but now that we're talking and I hear how Chris is using it, and clearly Bonnie's using it too as a reading tool, and what you just said, Paul, I really like this idea that, like, okay, so here, take a stab at this speech or this letter or this text and annotate, and then talk to each other about what you saw in each other's annotations, and then hit, what does the AI say? What should we look for going forward, or how should we look at this with a different lens? So I just, for my own sanity, I have to kind of wrap my head around when and how I can use it. And then I feel like you and I are going to have some of those private calls like we did last spring to figure out how I approach it and how I use it with my kids, if that makes sense. Like once I decide how I can use it, I think you're going to have to, maybe I'm just, I don't know, old school or something. I have a hard time with, there seems to be so many coaches now, and which is good. But for me, it's like too many choose your own paths.
Say that again. There are so many coaches.
There just seems like when we were just playing around with the AP synthesis essay and the commentary evidence coach.
Got it.
There were a few there, and then all of a sudden there's all these different categories of writing with different types of coaches, and now there's the annotating coach. And once again, that's great that there's lots, but for my brain, kind of like when I love. And
for the student's brain, you're right.
Like I'm going to say something. I love beer, but I hate when I go into a bar that has 100 taps, because to me that just confuses me and makes it too much. So I like 10 taps and not 100 taps. So once again, I feel I have to kind of wrangle my brain what I want to do, and then I think maybe Paul, maybe you can help me figure out how to approach it with which coaches the kids would be working with. If that makes sense.
It does. Absolutely. It does make sense. I wanted to say too, Peter, you asked a question about how things are uploaded. So when I did Henrietta Lacks with my students, I had 4 different classes. Each class had their own upload to deal with, because of the overabundance of comments that they make, either questions that they have or annotations that they make. So having one class in one version of the text is the best way to go for me, because it was just too much to read and try to sort through, even with writing partners having sorting tools. Just to do, like you said, it was just too much. So I couldn't handle that. So I hear you when you say too much. The next thing too, not only did they have the text uploaded, they also had the audio of the text, so that my students who really couldn't keep up with reading the written word, they had audio and were able to annotate. Thereafter, if I asked them a critical analysis question, they were able to gather through writing partners all the comments and annotations that they made in the text, and already have an abundance of background information and also their individual input, that they didn't go from their notes and their annotations to a blank sheet of paper. They had an abundance of their own writing to work with from that point. I assigned certain portions of the reading, so it didn't go up a little at a time. It was there. Students who read ahead had the opportunity to do so. Students who couldn't had the opportunity to not do so. And that's how we had it uploaded. And I really talked Paul into making it available to having individual classes, so that
that's what we've done. That's what we've done at Judge also, by the way, Chris. I hope that's clear.
Yeah.
Right? That each class has their own version of it.
Yep.
That you're doing. So Peter, you'd have to let us know what you're reading and which part of it you want them to think about annotating and doing that social reading together kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, once again, I came into this thinking I was just going to focus on essays and how to compose and all those good things. But now I'm thinking about the reading and the annotating and the discussions that can happen online. So I'll have to think that through. And once again, I think maybe, I don't know, Paul, what the schedule is, but maybe you and I.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Peter, you teach seniors too, or just juniors?
Well, so once again, this program that I teaching in the afternoon, it's a mix. It's 11 and 12.
Okay.
In Lang. more 11th graders than 12th.
Yeah, even 11th graders in AP classes are thinking about college. And so, I mean, and the next sequence for me is going to be the writing the college essay, the application essay.
Yeah.
And so, that's in the queue for sure over the next couple weeks, really.
Yeah. So because I teach mainly 11th graders, I did that at the end of the year last year after the test. I had them for a couple weeks. And so we used that one. But at this school, I'm also offering after school, any senior that's interested, because a lot of the kids in Michigan are interested in the early action at University of Michigan, which is October 31st. And they have supplemental essays. So that's a conversation that maybe Paul and I can have about who I can share this with, because some of the kids might not actually be in my class that I'm helping with their essays. So, but we can figure that out later. But yes, thank you, Chris. I loved the application essay, the Common App essay, or whatever it was called, the coach. It was really helpful to my kids. So,
and another thing, Peter, I just want to say, you can start with a smaller text, just so that you can play to see what the capabilities are, what your level of comfortability is in working in and out of the application, because I sometimes work out of it while I'm in writing partners too. But I'm really crazy like that. I don't know if that's a good idea, but just play around with it and see what you get, and play with your students, because they'll honestly tell you what's happening and what's not happening for them.
Oh yeah, no, last year it was baptism by fire, because I was learning like 3 seconds before the kids, and they were learning faster than I was. So yeah, no, I thank you for that suggestion. And I think that's probably the way I'm going to do with the reading and annotating text, is start with a small text.
Cool. I hope this isn't too quick a transition, but I do want to show and promise last week, some people did some, this will give me a chance to show the writing platform, the writing document as well. And it is ready to go now, I think. So let me do that. But we also looked at an explorations coach. And Bonnie, you may or may not remember, but you were like easing into the college admissions essay, and there were some kids who had written journal entries and some who hadn't. So I threw together this explorations coach, and we played with it last week. There were some questions. Well, let me show rather than tell. Sorry, I'm figuring out how to present. I think I had it open, so it should happen pretty fast. Okay, here we go. All right, so I'm just showing you some stuff, and then we can talk about it. The big picture here is this. Part of it is, so you just heard me just describe how we started developing this writing partner. And then we tested it. I did some other work around it, and then we tested it last week. And Debbie and David and others gave us feedback. And one of the things we saw it doing, and so what this, actually, David Cole describes this really well. It gives 10 prompts for doing your journal entry, right? And you can come over here on the left side and just do each of your pieces of writing. What's on here now, by the way, I'll say this quickly, is that you can go to add an AI generated image, grab that image and put that in your writing as well. That's kind of a cool thing that was just put in here. But here's what I wanted to emphasize. It was doing, let's read this. This is one from last week, I think. Yes. The AI was saying something like this. I really want to get to know you through your answers. Each exploration has 2 questions. And we thought, ooh, that's at least creepy and weird, at least, right? That it was doing that. So we went back in and changed it a couple of times. And if I can find the one from this week, one of the ones. Yeah. So this one, I'm not sure why I do this, but I said, I think I'm ready. This is after the feedback. I went back into the script for the explorations coach and said, hey, and made some corrections. And then I went back out and tested it. I said, I think I'm ready for the third exploration. And it just jumped to it without saying much. It gives me the two prompts for the writing. And it correctly told me to go over and write on the left side. Anyway, I'm trying to explain, and let me see. This one is maybe a little complicated, but at this one, I wanted to test. What if I said, I'm not done with exploration 2 yet, right? And it was able to kind of say, okay, here's what we're doing. Let's read what the sentence says here. Explorations is here. Is here to help you reflect on what you need, what you can do, and where you are going. These questions are for you to get to know yourself better. You might use your work here to write a college essay, make a bio for a website, or start a new research project. That was some of the other feedback, that giving students these prompts without giving them some idea of what the purpose might be was odd. Okay, let me I rushed through all that because I really am more interested in the conversation that may happen now, but what are your thoughts about what you're seeing here? Or what are your questions, and we can clarify.
Paul, is that exploration
yes,
for like generating ideas for a college essay? What are we exploring in? I mean, what's the purpose of the exploration? What's the end goal?
So the idea here is that, and let me just go through a couple, is that there's like, they're like, how to say this? They're prompts for doing a journal entry. And the idea, and there's lots of commentary that says, hey, write this quickly, don't worry about it, you know, it's in your journal. But the first one is, right, to tell about times that things changed in your life. And then there's a history, talk about your favorite history, experience you've ever had. And the next one is about health. So it's kind of like personal and academic combined, and you kind of choose which one you want. Who are the people who you have loved? It's those kinds of questions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess like when I thought about the whatever the question prompt one of exploration one was something about like and then come back. Did you guys last week? I'm guessing you didn't go through all 10 each two. I mean, I'm guessing you just played with one or two. Is that how that worked?
Well, Peter, sometimes when I do that, I might geek out for myself and go through all 10. However, it depends on how busy I am, but sometimes I really do geek out because I want to see what it's going to do for me. And I wasn't here last week to work with this new tool. Paul told me about it, but I didn't get into it. But I have used some of the tools in that way already, long time ago. I forget their names too.
So yeah. So yeah, I think we answered that, Peter, just to make sure we clearly answered it. I designed this, and we designed it together a while ago, but to be a session, to work in, it could work in one of two ways. One, you could like have, it could be a journal entry that a student goes to for 10 minutes at the beginning of every class, right? Or on Fridays, whatever. Or it could be one that you go through for an hour and do all of them. It's kind of flexible in that way. Does that make sense?
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, and then because just to emphasize, the writing tool, everything gets saved automatically there, that they could go back, find that page again, and just add to it. Lots of flexibility around that idea as well.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
What I was thinking, as far as the college application essay goes, like we have, as I recall, like a college admissions kind of person who's looking for those things that Jess Early has in her book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and what I was thinking was, so there's that, but then I want them to go to, let's say, their number one choice, and I'm thinking that they will try to scrape the language that that program uses. Let's say it's like engineering at Michigan. They would go to that site and kind of find information about that program and compile that, and I would want that college admissions essay coach to reference that particular thing.
That's
So,
yes.
right. So they could even cut and paste in a Google Doc, and then they could attach that PDF as, I want you to make reference to this like you are an admissions officer at the University of Michigan's School of Engineering, right? And I'm thinking that sounds right, Paul.
That sounds right. Keep going.
Well, then what I'm thinking is they're actually learning more about this program that they want to go into by doing that. So that in itself is a good thing, as opposed to just saying like, I want to go there. Them massaging the language of the place seems like maybe a way that they could self-select, like, wow, this doesn't sound like me, or now I know this place even better. So I think there's some learning that might take place there, is my thought.
So they're setting up, let's call them stakeholders, right? In a
Yeah.
sense, right? They're who are college admission, the people who are reading the college admissions essays.
And that
And
prompt,
one of the go ahead, what?
well, that prompt would reference the language in that document too, and say like, whoa, you know, we're looking for people who are really good at building windmills or whatever. Like it would make a reference to that thing and maybe ask them about to expand on some quality. I don't know.
Yeah, you know, and this is or, right? It's not, or it's and. When Peter's students were doing this, they were applying, a lot of them were applying to Michigan State or University of Michigan. So I actually went and found college admissions officers from each of those colleges, and they're there as simulators. And so actual people so this is and, right? So they could have real personalities from the colleges and kind of and have what you're saying, the specific stuff as well. So both of those things could happen. So did that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Chris, because Michigan, one of Michigan's supplemental essays is this idea of why Michigan. Why are you selecting this school?
Right.
And when my daughter was applying, one of the recruiting people, admissions people said they wanted exactly that. They wanted something very specifically University of Michigan related, a professor, a class, a certain study or something. Like they didn't just want you to say, well, Michigan's got a great psychology department. Well, because there's lots of great psychology departments around the country. So what is it about Michigan's psychology department that's really unique that you feel you need to be a part of? So when you said that idea of like taking from the website some of the language, that totally resonated because they have to write a Why Michigan app as one of their supplemental essays.
Right. And so I'm thinking that would be helpful for anybody to do at any school. And if they can't find the language that, you know, like, wait a second, this isn't sounding right, that maybe that's kind of a way for them to think about their future too. Like if it doesn't jibe with them, you know.
Cool. They're creating these simulators, stakeholders, whatever we call them. is going to be quite a good experience for them to learn, and then using that is going to be interesting too. So they're learning on both sides, both the creating of the writing partner and then using it as they're writing. But yeah.
Chris, have you ever attempted to have them annotate some of the material from the website of the college that they're, what if there was a paragraph about the psychology department and the kid put that into writing partner and annotated it for, these are the things I like and this is why I like them and stuff. I don't know if such pages exist. It's been so long since I went to college.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Debbie. Because I was thinking just, copy and paste the language there, but the idea of annotating it first is like, why does this particular thing appeal to you? I'll have to look into it a little bit more, but I think there's that language. Hopefully it's not too general on those websites, but, yeah, that'd be fun.
What's available on those websites is actually pretty amazing. There are podcasts, here are the people who read your essays. It's what they make available to students is, if they go find it, is pretty amazing. And I just want to make, and again, this is just adding to, but Jess Early's point is that students often think that the person reading this essay is this old white guy professor, right, at this university. And in fact, it's not. And so finding out who reads the essays and having those people be real audiences for kids is part of what she's interested in as well. So I think your simulators could do that too.
Wow.
Chris, yeah.
Right. We were toying around with that last year.
Yeah. Cool. We got some agenda here. And I'm watching the time. And Peter, you're on your third day. So thank you for hanging out with us. Great questions, and we'll be in touch. And Chris, thank you for sharing and everything. Everyone, thank you. And Bonnie, I was gonna show, but we can maybe do it next week. Your baby pictures, but did you see what I did with that?
No, where are they? Where are they? Can you share it right now so everybody can?
I'll show it. Are you okay with it?
Turn the camera off, though. Turn the recording off. Yes, I'm absolutely
off
with that. You all know my mother recently passed away in 2022. The house just sold. They had to get everything out of the house.